Welcome back to another episode of Train for Life Fitness Podcast. What if I told you that you could cut, up to 800 calories out of your daily intake without removing a single bite of solid food?
I mean, it sounds completely like a gimmick you'd see on a late-night infomercial.
Yeah, exactly. No shrinking your portions, no fasting for days on end, and definitely no locking yourself away from the foods you actually enjoy.
Yeah, well, it's actually just the mathematical reality of understanding where calories hide.
Yeah.
Because, the traditional dieting mentality is completely backwards.
Right. It's almost entirely built around subtraction.
Subtraction, deprivation, and basically seeing how much suffering you can tolerate before your willpower just completely snaps. We are culturally conditioned to believe that if your diet doesn't hurt, it simply must not be working.
So true. So today we're doing a deep dive into a source that just aggressively dismantles that whole mentality. We are unpacking the 14-Day Nutrition Reset Guide by Lët'z Roar.
And the mission of this document is so refreshing because it gives you a roadmap to drop weight and reset your system without that awful starvation element.
Yeah, it's specifically engineered for people with highly demanding, busy lifestyles. People who literally do not have the cognitive bandwidth to be obsessing over a rumbling stomach during, a 2 p.m. strategy meeting.
Which is most of us, honestly. We see so many overcomplicated protocols today that require spreadsheets and scales to manage every single macronutrient. But this guide is a very deliberate return to sustainable basics.
Making tiny upgrades instead of huge sacrifices, right?
Exactly. The Lët'z Roar approach operates on this fascinating premise. Making small, strategic upgrades to your existing habits yields significantly better long-term results than attempting those painful, sweeping sacrifices. It is a system of psychological leverage.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before getting into what to eat, they ask you to frame how you think about eating. They lay out 3 foundational rules right away. First, they emphasize that all macronutrients matter.
Right? Proteins, carbs, and fats all have a critical biological function. None of them are inherently evil.
Yeah, exactly. Second, the goal is eating the right amounts, not starving. And the third rule, the one that anchors this entire system, is that every so-called unhealthy food has a smarter alternative.
What's fascinating here is how that perfectly sets up their 3 mantras for the next 2 weeks. They write, don't remove foods, replace them. Don't starve. Upgrade choices.
And the ultimate key to behavior change, don't be perfect, be consistent.
Yes. They state outright that a perfect diet is a complete myth. I mean, the physiologically optimal diet is useless if you hate your life while you're on it, because you will inevitably quit. The best plan is simply the one you can adhere to.
Right. I look at the way most people diet, and it reminds me of throwing out your entire wardrobe just because one single shirt doesn't fit you anymore.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. You panic and just scrap everything?
Yeah, you try to reinvent yourself from zero. But this guide's philosophy is a lot more like taking that favorite shirt to a tailor. You aren't losing the fundamental experience of wearing it. You are just making a few precise adjustments so it actually fits your body and your goals right now.
That tailor analogy perfectly captures the psychology at play here. When you shift the internal narrative from restriction to empowerment, your biological response actually changes.
How so?
Well, if a rigid diet dictates that you cannot have chocolate, your brain fixates on the deprivation. You experience an artificial scarcity that spikes cravings.
Oh, 100%. You just want it more.
Exactly. But if the rule is simply that you can have chocolate, we just need to tailor it to an 80% dark cocoa version to minimize the sugar spike, you retain your autonomy, you aren't in a cage anymore. That psychological safety net is the only way a busy professional or a parent juggling kids can maintain consistency.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. I want to challenge this idea of replacing rather than removing, especially when we look at their ultimate food swap list.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the guide suggests swapping regular jam for a no added sugar fruit spread. It tells you to swap chocolate spread for 100% peanut butter, noting it should literally just be peanuts, 0 added oil or sugar. It even says to swap full fat dairy for 0% fat versions.
Right, the 0% yogurt and milk.
Yeah, but if I strip all the fat out of my dairy, won't I just be starving an hour later?
Doesn't fat trigger satiety? It
Yeah.
seems like it violates the don't starve rule.
Well, it's a highly logical concern, but you have to look at the overarching macronutrient ecosystem they are building. Yes, dietary fat triggers leptin, which is a key satiety hormone.
Okay, so why cut it out of the dairy?
Because fat is also incredibly calorically dense, 9 calories per gram compared to 4 calories per gram for protein or carbs. The Let's Roar strategy isn't eliminating fat from your diet entirely. It is actively reallocating your fat budget away from secondary ingredients like dairy or cooking oils.
And putting it toward what? Toward whole nutrient-dense foods like avocados, nuts, or specific cuts of meat. So by using 0% yogurt, you save a massive amount of calories that you can then spend elsewhere in your day to keep you full without blowing past your total energy limit.
Oh, that makes the math a lot clearer. You aren't losing the fat, you're just choosing more satiating sources for it. And they apply this math to carbohydrates too, right?
Exactly.
Sugary cereals become whole oats, white pasta becomes lentil pasta. But the section that really caught my eye is the fast food category.
The burger craving swap.
Yeah. They say if you are craving a burger and fries, you don't white-knuckle your way through the craving. You make a homemade burger with light cheese, lean ground meat, and you cook potatoes in an air fryer with no oil. Now, I read that and think, am I really saving that many calories? Or is the secret ingredient just forcing me to do the annoying work of cooking at home?
The effort of cooking at home is merely the delivery mechanism for the real secret, which, Lët'z Roar, distills into a simple formula. Same food, less calories equals easy win.
Okay, break that down for me.
When you purchase a burger and fries at a restaurant, you are surrendering entirely to their hidden variables. A restaurant's goal is hyper-palatability, not your health. You don't realize they toasted the bun in 2 tablespoons of butter.
Right. They just want it to taste amazing, so you come back.
Exactly. You don't realize the ground beef is a 70-30 fat ratio. You don't realize the fries absorb a staggering amount of industrial seed oils during the deep frying process.
So you think you're eating an 800-calorie meal, but with all those invisible fats, it's actually closer to 1,500.
Precisely. By moving the preparation into your own kitchen, you strip away those hidden variables. You use lean meat, you skip the butter on the bun, you air fry the potatoes.
And the calories drop.
The biological impact on your body drops by hundreds of calories, but neurologically, you still scratch the exact itch you had for a burger and fries. You circumvent the feeling of deprivation.
The concept of hidden variables is massive in this guide, particularly when it comes to what they identify as sneaky calorie traps. We just talked about hidden fats in restaurant food, but the guide points out that we do this to ourselves at home all the time with sauces and oils.
Oh, absolutely. The heavy pour is where so many people go wrong.
Yes. The guide is incredibly explicit about this. You swap regular mayonnaise for light mayo or Greek yogurt. But the biggest one is cooking oil. You must swap pouring your olive oil for using a spray bottle.
Right, because olive oil is wonderful for your heart, but it is pure liquid fat. A single tablespoon is around 120 calories. If you are free pouring oil from a bottle over a salad or into a pan, it is incredibly easy to accidentally use 3 or 4 tablespoons.
And no one measures it when they pour.
Exactly. You've just added 400 to 500 calories to your meal before you've even added the actual food. Switching to a spray bottle gives you atomized coverage. You get the flavor and the nonstick utility using a fraction of a teaspoon.
Wow, so it's a micro decision that yields massive compounding results. And they tackle drinks with that exact same intensity. The guide calls this the biggest fat loss hack of the entire 14-day reset.
Liquid calories, yeah.
You swap regular soda for sparkling water. You swap your sugary vanilla latte for regular coffee sweetened with stevia. You swap fruit juice for eating a piece of whole fruit. And you limit alcohol to a maximum of 1 drink a week.
And the math on that is wild.
It really is. They calculate these beverage swaps alone can save between 300 to 800 calories every single day.
To contextualize that number, an 800-calorie deficit is the equivalent of skipping an entire large dinner. You aren't skipping dinner. You are generating a massive, clinically significant fat loss deficit without ever reducing the physical volume of solid food in your stomach.
Chugging a sugary soda or a massive glass of juice is like leaving all the lights on in a completely empty house.
Yep.
It's a huge expenditure of energy, or in this case, a massive intake of calories, but nobody is home to actually use it or appreciate it.
That is such a good way to picture it.
Right. It doesn't make you feel full. You're just drinking invisible calories and waiting to be hungry again.
The biology behind your empty house metaphor is rooted in how human satiety actually functions. Liquid calories do not register in the brain the same way solid food does. They pass through the stomach too quickly to activate the mechanical stretch receptors in your gastric walls.
So your stomach doesn't physically feel full.
Exactly. Furthermore, liquids lacking fiber don't suppress ghrelin, the hormone that signals hunger. You can drink 500 calories of soda, and biologically speaking, your brain still thinks you haven't eaten anything.
So eliminating liquid calories forces your body to rely on solid foods that actually tell your brain to stop eating. Okay, so we've eliminated the liquid calories, we've got our spray oil, and we know our smart swaps. How does this guide actually instruct you to build a plate of food?
Well, they give you a master list of macro sources to pull from.
Right, for protein, it's chicken breast, turkey breast, white fish like cod or pollock, egg whites, tofu, lentils, scar, and low-fat cottage cheese. Interestingly, they do include salmon, but there is a hard rule, a maximum of 2 times per week. Why cap one of the healthiest foods on the planet?
It goes right back to our earlier conversation about managing your fat budget. Salmon is an exceptional source of omega-3 fatty acids, which reduce inflammation. However, because it is a fatty fish, its caloric density is quite high compared to a lean white fish like cod.
So capping it ensures you get the health benefits without accidentally overloading your daily energy limit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is a brilliant example of their core philosophy. It's not about what you eat, it's about eating the right foods in the right amounts.
And the carb sources they list follow a similar logic of maximizing volume and nutrients. Oats, brown rice, quinoa, whole wheat pasta, whole wheat wraps, plus starchy veggies like potatoes and a variety of fruits. And the fats are the high-quality sources we mentioned, like olive oil, avocado, almonds, and walnuts.
But a list of ingredients isn't a meal, right? The architecture of their meals is where you really see the system come together to stabilize blood sugar.
Yeah, let's look at their breakfast protein porridge. The instructions are 40 grams of oats cooked with water or milk, but then crucially, you add 100 grams of Greek yogurt after the oats are cooked and top it with berries.
Notice the biological speed bumps they're building into every single meal.
Yeah.
Adding Greek yogurt to your oatmeal isn't just about taste.
What does it do biologically?
Carbohydrates digest quickly. If you eat a bowl of plain oatmeal, you will likely experience a rapid rise in blood glucose, followed by an insulin spike to clear that glucose, and then a sharp drop that leaves you hungry and lethargic 2 hours later.
The classic sugar crash.
Exactly. But when you mix in 100 grams of thick, protein-rich Greek yogurt, you fundamentally alter the digestion rate. The protein acts as a biological speed bump, slowing the release of glucose into your bloodstream. You get sustained, steady energy.
That explains the mechanics perfectly. But honestly, looking at these dinner ideas like the turkey stir-fry with turkey strips, zucchini, carrots, and light soy sauce, or literally just pairing a lean fish with steamed vegetables and boiled potatoes, it feels incredibly stripped down.
It is very simple, yes.
So what does this all mean for someone who is completely overwhelmed by meal prep? Is the ultimate trick here just forcing yourself to eat kind of boring food?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not about making food boring. It is about aggressively eliminating decision fatigue. Consider the cognitive state of a busy professional at 6:30 p.m. after a chaotic workday.
You're just completely drained.
Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for willpower and complex decision-making, is totally depleted. If your dinner plan requires 30 minutes of prep, a complex recipe in 4 different pans, your brain will subconsciously calculate that the effort is too high.
And that's when you reach for your phone and order takeout.
100%. But if your meal is formulaic, a lean protein, a smart carb, and a veggie, the barrier to entry is almost zero. You can execute that meal on autopilot, even when you are exhausted. Simplicity is your defense mechanism against a stressful life.
Removing the friction between you and the right choice. So assuming a listener actually implements this, they stock their kitchen with swaps, they simplify their plates, they stop drinking their calories. What is the actual physiological roadmap for the next 2 weeks?
The guide breaks the 14 days into 2 very distinct phases. Week 1 is designated as the reset phase.
Right. The focus is on setting the logistical foundation. You execute your grocery shopping for swaps, you cut obvious junk, or at least cut it in half, and you plan your meals. And there are 2 non-negotiable daily targets for week 1.
The steps and the water.
Yeah, walking a minimum of 6,000 steps daily and drinking a minimum of 2 liters of water. And they are uncompromising here. It has to be water or plain sparkling water. Coffee doesn't count, juice doesn't count, diet soda doesn't count. Why is water intake elevated to such a strict rule?
Because proper hydration is the unsung catalyst for almost every metabolic process in your body. When you shift your diet toward higher protein and fiber, your digestive system requires significantly more water, to process those nutrients effectively.
Right, without causing constipation or sluggishness.
Exactly. Furthermore, at a cellular level, lipolysis, the actual biological process of breaking down fat molecules for energy, requires water. If you are chronically dehydrated, your metabolism literally cannot operate efficiently.
Wow, I love that the guide is brutally honest about expectations for week 1, though. They explicitly tell you to expect a quick weight drop, but they immediately clarify that this is purely from water weight and debloating.
They don't pretend you're magically incinerating 5 pounds of pure body fat in 4 days.
No, it manages expectations perfectly.
This raises an important question, though, about human motivation. That transparency is vital, but we shouldn't dismiss that initial water weight drop as unimportant. It serves a profound psychological purpose.
Because you see the scale move.
Yes. When humans attempt to change ingrained habits, our brains require a quick, tangible win to justify the discomfort of the effort. Seeing that quick drop provides the exact psychological momentum the listener needs to push through week 2.
And week 2 is officially labeled the fat loss phase. So the instructions for this week are essentially just keep going, right? Keep the structure, hit your water, get your steps, and stay consistent.
Because now that the bloat is gone, the real biological changes occur. In week 2, your body has fully adapted to the new macronutrient profile. Your insulin levels are no longer on a roller coaster.
And this is when that 300 to 800 daily calorie deficit finally forces your body to tap into stored body fat for energy.
Exactly. Real fat loss kicks in.
So after the 14 days, the guide says you should notice less bloating, more stable energy, fewer cravings, and a loss of at least 2 kilograms.
Which naturally leads to the most critical question of any short-term protocol: what happens on day 15? A 14-day reset is totally worthless if it doesn't leave behind a permanent scaffolding of better habits.
So true. The guide offers 2 next steps. Option 1 is to keep going independently, using this as a new baseline and just repeating the structure for another 2 to 4 weeks.
And the math guarantees that if you remain consistent, the fat loss will continue.
Right. And option 2 is getting personalized help via a free 20-minute Lët'z Roar check-in. It's a call to identify 2 or 3 levers to pull for your specific lifestyle and map out a custom 30-day plan. And if it's a fit, you can explore their 90-day coaching program.
It's a highly strategic transition. They provide all the education for you to succeed independently, while acknowledging that sustained weight loss often requires a professional to look at your unique friction points to ensure your progress doesn't evaporate when work gets stressful again.
Digging through this material really forces a perspective shift. It makes you wonder, what if the ultimate diet isn't really a diet at all? What if achieving profound health goals is nothing more than an accumulation of upgraded micro-decisions?
Like choosing the spray bottle of oil instead of the heavy pour.
Yeah. Exactly. Or dropping a little stevia in your coffee instead of sugar.
Yeah.
What if these tiny, barely noticeable adjustments eventually harden into invisible, completely effortless habits that just run in the background of your life, doing the heavy lifting while you focus on everything else?